Yesterday, I had the incredible opportunity to watch the new Studio Ghibli movie from Hayao Miyazaki called The Boy and the Heron. The original title is Kimitachi wa dou ikiru ka, which means How Do You Live in Japanese, and it is also a very famous Japanese book by Genzaburo Yoshino. I also did a video where I talk about this book a few months ago if you're interested. And this book also inspired Miyazaki for this movie, and this book, How Do You Live, is actually also referenced in the movie, but I will talk about this a bit later in the video. So what can I say about this movie? Well, I absolutely loved it. I believe that not all Studio Ghibli fans, and especially Miyazaki fans, will agree. There will definitely be mixed opinions about this movie, but it really made such an impression on me. So I thought I would just do a video where I talk about what I liked, what I didn't like, give my review and my impressions. And there will be some small spoilers, so if you don't want to be spoiled, maybe don't watch my video, but I will only give small spoilers and show some pictures. But I believe it is almost impossible to be really spoiled with The Boy and the Heron, because it is definitely one of the most abstract Miyazaki movies. So yes, let's just talk about it. Yeah, 始めましょう. I think it will be really hard for me to explain what is going on in the story, as the story starts to be really abstract very early on in the story, but I will try my best to explain what I remember and just talk about what I really loved, what made an impression. So the story starts with our protagonist. He's called Mahito, a 10-year-old boy. It starts during Second World War, where he loses his mother tragically. And the beginning definitely gave me Grave of the Fireflies vibes. So basically the story starts with Mahito moving out. He has to go where his father works in a fabric for military airplanes, which is also a very Miyazaki theme. In The Wind Rises, Pocorosso. If you know Miyazaki, you know that his way of portraying the war is always through military airplanes and through everything that is about flying. But yeah, I'm not going to do an analysis about The Boy and the Heron, because I will definitely need to watch videos myself to understand everything. So the story starts with Mahito living with his aunt, who is now his new mother. And the topic of mother is a recurring topic in the movie. Sometimes it's really confusing because he's looking for his mother, who's obviously dead, but sometimes you don't really know when you watch the movie who his mother really is. Is he talking about his aunt? Is he talking about his real mother? So he starts living there in this beautiful place, typical Ghibli style. There are grandmas living here that definitely reminded me of Ponyo, with a little twist that reminded me of Spirited Away as well. I love Mahito's room there. It is peak Studio Ghibli. Very simple, minimalistic, but all so beautifully detailed. And that's where he starts seeing this heron, hence the title, all the time, and he starts to follow him, and that's where rather peculiar things start to happen. And he doesn't want to go to school, and he just stays in his room until mysterious things start to happen, where he obviously is grieving for his mother and he's looking for his mother. And he enters this world with this heron, which is a completely different world, where I believe also time is different. I think it's definitely in the past, as much as I understand, is a completely different world from the one he lives in. And he goes on this adventure, and that's where the movie becomes incredibly abstract. I don't remember everything that happens, but first he is in this beautiful castle with the heron, and then he goes on this adventure to look for Natsuko and his aunt and his mother, I believe, because they are both trapped in this world. And weird things happen from here. The only thing I can say is that the impression, what made this incredible impression on me was how beautiful it looked. It was definitely 100% the most beautiful Studio Ghibli movie, graphically speaking. The animation is jaw-dropping. I don't know what else. I told my friend who was sitting next to me, like, how is every single shot so beautiful? I can't wait for the movie to really come out, because I want a poster for my wall here. It just is incredible. The castles, the nature, the flowers, the sea, the sky, everything is, if you love Ghibli and the art style, this is definitely, I believe this is the most beautiful one. So the adventure he goes on is, in this world there are birds that reminded me of Spirited Away a lot, especially the heron reminded me, I don't know why, but for people who already watched it, the heron reminded me of No Face from Spirited Away, because he is also sort of he's a paradox in a way, because he has some traits that are really mean, but he's a really good person as well. He's half human, half heron. It's a very, very interesting character. Also a kind of a comic relief, just as No Face kind of is in the end of Spirited Away. So I love the heron very much in the movie. My favorite character, so this is a small spoiler, I am very sorry, skip this part if you don't want to be spoiled, but if you love the fuzzies from Spirited Away, the cute ones, in this movie there are even cuter creatures called Wara Wara. I took a picture. I don't know, they are like, I couldn't stop squeaking when I watched the movie because they were so cute. They were like the most purest loving things. Yeah, I hope they make like stuffed animals of them and different merch, because I love them to bits. Yeah, I think there were so many cute characters. The grandmas that reminded me of the ones in Ponyo a bit were even cuter than in Ponyo. The way they were walking, I think in the cinema everyone laughed at this, because it was just so cute how the way the grandmas were walking. That's also a reoccurring theme in the movie, like how people walk is so funny and so witty. I think that is something that is a highlight for me in the movie. Yeah, I can't really say what happens in this parallel, surrealistic, dreamlike. I don't believe it is really dreamlike. Like Chihiro. I think in Chihiro you can more or less say that it is a very sort of dream, but here I don't think it is. I really think that it is sort of a different actual real world that he enters. And in this world he goes on this adventure where he has to fight to escape some creatures, and his mother is trapped. And at the end it gets really, really philosophical and spiritual. There are definitely things in the movie that refer to Second World War, about all the losses. That's how my friend and I interpreted the story, that the story really very much is about everything that Japan lost during the Second World War, about lives that were lost, but also potential life that were lost. There is this element in the end, a huge stone that for me was definitely a reference to the bomb, or it could be interpreted as this at least. But I have to think more about this to really understand, but it was so philosophical. It really is about life. So that's why I think How Do You Live is a better title for it, because it's really about, how do you want to live? I think how I understand the title is How Do You Live is more like, how do you want to live your life after the war? How do you want to live your life after having lost a loved one, especially your mother? And how I understand it, what I made of this movie is basically Mahito, this little boy, is going through all stages of grief. That's kind of his story. How can he start living with the death of his mother? And first he wants to look for her, and he goes to the past where he actually meets her as a little girl, and he goes on this adventure with her. And basically, yeah, I think it's just the different stages of acceptance until he can finally start his life, a new life in Japan. But that's the general idea that I got. There are many different interpretations and definitely different aspects of it, but I think that's the main thing I got of it. So yeah, what else can I say about the movie? I think the ending is actually really beautiful. It's a good ending that actually makes sense, and that was definitely a thing that I was worried about, that when I watched the movie I was scared that in the end my reaction would be, I have no idea what happened. I don't understand anything, but that wasn't the case. I really came out of this movie thinking, wow, okay, this was actually a fulfilling ending. I'm really happy with how it ended. So that's all I can say about the ending, is that I think it's a good ending that makes kind of sense. Yeah. That's all I have to say for now about this movie. I can just say that I think, even if you might not understand the story that well, and you might need a few rewatches, I think that it's still very, very Ghibli. It combines everything that Miyazaki loves, what makes Miyazaki who he is. There are obviously also some food scenes that makes you want to, yeah, it's typical Ghibli food that it looks absolutely delicious. So yeah, that made me really smile as well. That was really wholesome. And yeah, I think I already saw a video where where people say that Mahito might not be the strongest protagonist, that he is, but that didn't really bother me, because he's maybe not as special as Chihiro, for instance, but it really doesn't bother me in this story. I think that this little boy, it just should represent a little boy who just lost his mother, and for that I think it is really he is a really good character for that. Obviously, I forgot to mention something really important, but the music is by Joe Hisaishi, right? I hope I just said his name correctly. It's beautiful. Like, I don't have to say it, because I mean, his music is always absolutely incredible, and in this movie again, it just made me so happy. Like, the music is perfect, absolutely perfect. Visually and musically, it's a masterpiece. And I think I would give it on Letterboxd a rating. I would give a rating of 4.5 out of 5 stars. Simply because I think, yes, in a way the story is really abstract. So yeah, it's for me it's not my number one Ghibli for that reason. But yeah, it's definitely, I think, in my top 3 Ghibli movies now. Yeah. So yeah, that is my impression of How Do You Live, The Boy and the Heron. And yeah, I can only say that I can't wait to rewatch it once it's in the cinema, and I think every Ghibli fan will have a blast watching this movie. Yeah, let me know which one is your favorite Ghibli movie. I'd be really interested to know. Maybe I'll do one video about my favorite Studio Ghibli movie one day. And yeah, just thank you, Miyazaki, for always creating the most incredible animation and for being the animation king. So yeah, arigatou gozaimashita and bye.